Greetings everyone. Dear aspirants, if you are preparing for UPSC Prelims 2026, then this video lecture is for you. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss most expected topics from the static portion of Polity and Governance. So, why most expected topics? I have analyzed the last 15 years PYQs and trends that UPSC follows. So, you can trust me that after analyzing last 15 years PYQs and trends of UPSC, I have framed these topics, right? And also I have included last May 2024 till November 2025, right? I have also analyzed the current affairs topics. So I have also merged the current affairs topics from static portion, and there is a complete list for static portion of polity and governance. Now let's see the important topics. So you must start with the basic concepts. As you know that UPSC focuses on basic concepts. So your basic concepts should be very clear. So these are the key terms, key concepts that you must prepare. So first, start with constitutionalism, right? One of the most important topic, and also your basic concept should be very clear. So here you will revise or study, right, the meaning, definition, elements of constitutionalism, elements of constitutionalism that is found in India, right? And then you will focus on constitution, meaning, definition, function of constitution, limitation of constitution. Apart from that, different types of constitution, then comparison between different constitutions, right? Comparison between different constitutions when you study certain provisions. For example, president, comparison between president of India and president of USA, right? Secularism, concept of secularism in India, France, USA. This is how you should prepare, right? Then very important term, that is constitutional morality, right? And apart from that, constitutional spirit. These two keywords are very important. Whenever any Supreme Court judgment comes on the interpretation or about the interpretation of constitution, generally these two words are used: constitutional morality and constitutional spirit, right? So be very clear, be very specific about these concepts. Then system of government. So system of government, here you will focus federalism, unitary, right? What is the meaning of federalism? Functions, difference between federalism and unitary. Then parliamentary form of government, presidential form of government. Apart from that, certain judicial doctrines are very important. Certain judicial doctrines means judicial review, very important, right? Certain articles are important, article 13, right? And other articles important. Due process of law, procedure established by law. These two concepts should be very clear. What is the meaning of due process of law? Its origin, right? What is the meaning of procedure established by law? Which of these two words are mentioned in the Indian Constitution, right? So your concept should be very clear. Then move towards the doctrine of basic structure. You know that it is a Indian judiciary's innovation. Doctrine of basic structure in Keshwanand Bharti case 1973. Apart from that, for this year, a new doctrine, that is, of course not new, but for this year, this is a new doctrine, that doctrine of merger. It was in news, so also study about that. Then concept of separation of power and checks and balance. Obviously, every year there is a clash between legislature, executive, or executive and judiciary, or legislature or judiciary. So you must be very clear about the concept of separation of power and method of checks and balance. Then amendment of constitution is very important, right? So here, doctrine of basic structure, separation of power, amendment of constitution, and judicial review. So judicial review, doctrine of basic structure, and amendment of the constitution. You should read these three concepts, right, combined. Try to integrate them, because these three are interrelated, correlated with each other. Amendment of the constitution, doctrine of basic structure, and judicial review, right? Apart from that, due process of law, procedure established by law. Then Here, under amendment of the constitution, focus on the procedure. In how many ways, or what is the procedure to amend the Indian constitution? Article 368, part 20. Right? Different types of majority: simple majority, special majority, absolute majority. Then important amendments. Important amendments for this year: 42nd constitutional amendment, 44th constitutional amendment, and recent or last 5 amendments. Right? Last 5 constitutional amendments are very important. So this was all about the basic concepts. You should prepare about these basic concepts. Now moving towards the next topics. Under the topic of historical underpinnings, here mainly focus on Charter Acts, Indian Council Acts, Government of India Acts, and Indian Independence Act. Though regulating acts are very also important, but here majorly focus on this type of acts: Charter Act, Indian Council Act, Government of India Acts, and lastly Indian Independence Act. Right? And here different charter acts are there. You must be knowing that 3 charter acts after the duration between the charter acts were 20 years. Right? Then preamble. For this year, again preamble topic is very important. Right? You must remember the whole preamble. Right? Each and every word of preamble is important. You don't know the from where the question may be asked by the UPSC. Right? It might ask which of the following words are mentioned in the preamble. Right? That happened in 2017. Directly there was a question from preamble and certain words were mentioned. If you have solved the PYQs, you must be knowing that the questions in 2017 was a question directly from preamble. So for this year, preamble is very important. Again, keywords are very important of preamble, and especially for this year, secular and socialist. These 2 words are very important. Why? Because of 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, right? 3 words were included in the preamble, right? And under concept of secularism, right? Read the concept of secularism and compare between India, France, USA. Clear? Then certain case laws. Case laws means, right, which case laws introduced or accepted that whether preamble is part of Indian constitution or not. Certain case laws are important. Right? And as I said earlier, that 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act is very important for this year. Next, making of the Indian Constitution. Under this topic, composition and criticism of Constituent Assembly. This is very important. Right? Important committees are very important. Right? Means committee, their head, their members are very important. Especially for this year, national song Vande Mataram is in news. Right? So see all these facts. Apart from that, sources of the Indian Constitution. Sources means different countries. For example, amendment procedure has been derived from which of the following country? Question may be there. Right? Other provisions are there. So focus on the sources of the Indian Constitution. Schedules and parts are also important. Match the following can be given. 4 options are given and 4 schedules are given. You have to match. So such types of question may be filled. Now moving towards the next topic. Next, union and its territory. Again, this topic is very important. Why? Especially because Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh is special status or statehood for restoring its statehood. Again, Sikkim, right, has completed 50th, right, year or anniversary, you can say, right, of its statehood. So focus on concept of state. First, concept of state should be very clear. What are the key definition of state? Right, its elements: sovereignty, population, right, all this. Article 1 to 4, very important, and evolution of states and duties, and especially, as I said, Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Sikkim. Right? Then, under the concept of citizenship is very important. Right? Then, acquisition, loss, termination. Citizenship Act, especially this year, this section 6A, was in news. So, focus on such section. Apart from that, OCI card, Overseas Citizenship of India card, right? Again, this was in news. So I have merged the current affairs topic along with static portion. So focus on these topics. Now moving towards the next. Again, fundamental rights, always important topic, right? And again, be very clear about the concept of rights. Concept of rights means what is the meaning of natural rights, human rights, fundamental rights, statutory rights, right? What is their definition, meaning, differences? This is very important, and you must know about that which of these rights are fundamental rights, natural rights, or both fundamental rights, natural rights, human rights, fundamental rights, statutory rights but not fundamental rights, fundamental rights but not statutory rights. So this is how you should study, this is how you should revise. Then important articles for this year: article 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? Then 19, mostly article 19 remains in news every year, right? Freedom of speech and expression. 20, 21, 22. Apart from that, 25 to 28. Why? Especially related to cultural and educational rights, monetary rights, religious rights, right? So 29 to 30 and 32. 32 writs related, right, provisions. So 25 to 28 and 29 and 30. Cultural educational rights, freedom of religion, right? Rights of minorities. Why? Especially for certain topics like work up bill or and other topics like secularism also related to these articles. So must focus on these articles. Then fundamental duty, directive principle of state policy. So again here, meaning and definition of DPSPs. What do you understand by DPSP? Directive principle of state policy. Right. Apart from that, important articles for this year: 37, 38, 39, 39A, 44, Uniform Civil Code, right? 48A, 50. These articles are important for this year, right? Again, common directive principles. Common directive principles means, for example, there are certain directive principles which overlap with fundamental rights, right? Fundamental duties. Again, right, means there are certain, as I said, certain directive principles which overlap with fundamental duties. So see all these things. Apart from that, also focus on certain DPSPs that overlap with, for example, Gandhian and socialist, right? Gandhian and liberal intellectual, right? This is how you should study. Now, fundamental duties topic, meaning, source, right? And again, as I said, this year 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act is very important, and it was again added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Then all fundamental duties, you must remember all the fundamental duties. This is very important. All the 11 fundamental duties. And as I said, common fundamental duties and directive principles, right? Fundamental rights versus fundamental duties. Again, very important. So integrate these three topics: fundamental rights, directive principle of state policy, and fundamental duties. Very important topics. Might be question from all these topics, right? And if question comes, there is a high chance that 3 to 4 questions will be from these topics. Now, executive. So see, you are revising for the prelims 2026. So revise in such a way that it makes you more comfortable, right? It makes your way more easier. So whenever you study or revise, right, revise the topics parallel, right? Means whenever you are revising executive, revise union executive and state executive. In the same manner, union legislature, state legislature, Supreme Court, High Court, lower judiciary, right, at the same time. So here you will start with president, and under the topic of president, focus between the difference of Indian president and American president, right? Their election, method of election, removal, impeachment, this is very important, right? Their functions are very important. Functions mainly legislative, executive, and judicial functions, right? Apart from that, for this year, Article 72, pardoning powers of president, though last year it was asked, but again it may be asked. Article 143, presidential reference, it was in news. Article 200, 201, right? Also related to governor of state, right? Regarding what? Reservation of bills for the assent of president. Then Article 352, why? Emergency, 50 years of emergency. Article 356, president's rule, again president and governor both are involved. It is recommended by the governor, and then president what applies? President's rule under Article 356. Then vice president, again this year this topic is very important. Why? Because of what? Resignation and election of new vice president of India. So election, removal, both are very important. Resignation also important. Apart from that, comparison between Indian vice president and American vice president. Then PM and Council of Ministers, part of executive, right? Apart from that, Attorney General of India is also important. We will see when we will discuss the topic constitutional bodies. So under the topic of union executives, these topics are very important. Now let's see the state. So under the topic of executive, state executive, governor is very important. And as I said, whenever you revise president, simultaneously revise governor. Both are interrelated, right? CM, Chief Minister, and Council of Ministers. So these topics are important from prelims 2026, right? Now legislature. So again study union legislature means parliament and state legislature. So under the topic of parliament, you must revise Lok Sabha versus Rajya Sabha, right? Simultaneously. If you have prepared our notes, right, then it is too good. If you have not, then please make a short note on these certain topics and revise from your own note. So here you will focus on composition, right, of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, method of election of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there means qualification of members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. All these topics are important. Then speaker, deputy speaker, very important. Chairman of Rajya Sabha, as I said, vice president is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, and this year resignation and election both has taken place. So chairman of Rajya Sabha is very important for prelims 2026. Next, sessions and devices, always important. Then money bill, financial bills, very important. Their concept, their definition, their origin, right? Question may be asked, the difference between money bill in India and money bill in America or UK, right? Vote of confidence for this year, very important. Again, comparison between India and France. Privileges of MPs, also very important. And committees and forums are also again very important. Major committees are important. Make a list of major committees, right? Though several committees are there, but hardly 5 to 10 committees are important, right? Next, state legislature. So here you will focus on composition of legislative assembly. Again, method of election, who conducts the election, right? Qualification of members of state legislative assembly, right? Again, creation and composition of legislative council, right? So how many states in India have legislative councils? Right? Again, their qualification, their term, all these things are important. Speaker, chairman, right? Speaker of legislative assembly, chairman of legislative council. Sessions, devices, also important. Same in the same manner, the devices and sessions of parliament. And lastly, bills are also important. Now, so revise in the same manner as I have said, right? Parallel, executive of union, executive of state, legislature of union, legislature of state, judiciary at union level, for example, Supreme Court, judiciary at state level, high courts and lower courts. Next, judiciary. So, under the judiciary, Supreme Court always important, right? So, for this year, again, appointment and removal of judges, and right, recently, new Chief Justice of India has been appointed. So, again, appointment of Chief Justice of India, oath, affirmation, removal, right, impeachment, and other judges of Supreme Court is very important. Their functions are very important. Retired and ad hoc judges also very important. Apart from that, Article 142, 143. 142, Supreme Court's power to do justice, right? It can do anything to ensure justice. Article 142, unlimited, unfettered powers of Supreme Court. Article 143, presidential reference. Then, certain judgments of Supreme Court. Supreme Court on narco test. I have made a separate video on that. You can watch that video. The link will be given in the description box. Right? So, Supreme Court on narco test. This judgment is important. Again, certain case laws are important under this judgment. Judicial activism, PIL. This is also important. Apart from that, concept of judicial overreach. Right? Now, High Court. So, under High Court, appointment and removal of judges. This is very important. Chief Justice of High Court, other judges, retired and ad hoc judges. So, these topics are very important. Then, for subordinate courts, under this topic, Lok Adalats, Gram Nyayalayas are very important. Right? And again, under the topic of Supreme Court, you can also go for, right, or study collegium system. Right? And one more thing, though it does not exist, but National Judicial Appointment Commission, right, also include these two topics. Next, provisions relating to UTs, Union Territories. Why? As I said, Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, right? Scheduled and tribal areas, also especially from northeastern part of India. Special provisions for some states. These topics are very important. Then go for panchayats. Here, method of election, especially reservation of seats for women, qualification for candidates, and topic of Gram Sabha, very important. Apart from that, method of election for municipalities, and who conducts the elections of panchayats and municipalities, right? Urban local bodies and rural local bodies. Now, under constitutional bodies. So, for this year, certain bodies are in news. So, first you will start with Election Commission. You must know, due to SIR, right? Election Commission is very news in very much, right? Apart from that, also elections in different states. So, focus on Election Commission. Its appointment, removal, functions, right? Powers, restrictions, limitations. Finance Commission, again very important. UPSC. Why UPSC? This is important because it has completed its 100th anniversary. Right? So, this year UPSC itself is very important. Then Attorney General of India, as I said earlier while discussing the topic executive. So, Attorney General of India is very important. Then GST Council. Why? Because of certain GST reforms. Reforms in the tax slabs. So, GST Council becomes very important. Again, this topic may be important from your economics perspective. Right? But here we are discussing polity and governance perspective. So, GST Council is very important. Then lastly, CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Again, very important. So, these are the constitutional bodies, 6 constitutional bodies you must focus. Now, non-constitutional bodies, Niti Aayog. Why Niti Aayog? Because it has completed its 10th anniversary, right? 10th year of its establishment, right? And it had replaced what? The Planning Commission. National Human Rights Commission, again very important. Central Pay Commission, right? Why? Because recently 8th Pay Commission has been constituted. That's why Central Pay Commission or 8th Pay Commission is important. Whether it is right, you must know that it is a non-constitutional body, right? And again, I have made a separate video on that. You can watch. CBI often remains in use, especially, but sometimes it is alleged, right, on the central government for its misuse, right? But forget about the politics, right? But focus on the topics. CBI is very important. Quality Council of India, Central Information Commission, right? Registrar General of India, Lokpal and Lokayukta. Last year it was asked. Law Commission, again very important. Then finally see the remaining topics. So under miscellaneous topics, study Representation of People Act 1950 and 51, right? Qualification of members, disqualification of what? Members, removal of, or apart from that, election, political parties SIR, right? Election of both Parliament means Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha plus legislative assemblies. Political parties, their registration, right? Their qualification to become, for example, what are the qualifications to become a state party to be recognized as a national party, right? So qualifications are very important. Their removal, right? SIR always in news. So also read this concept. What is the meaning of SIR? Right? Anti-defection law, 10th schedule, right? And both are correlated. Representation of People Act mainly 1951. Anti-defection law, right? Right to vote, again very important. Whether it is constitutional right, fundamental right, statutory right. So, in brief, I am telling you that it currently, as per the recent judgment of Anup Barnwal case, it is a statutory right. If question comes, then you must go for statutory right. Right to vote, as per the recent judgment of Anup Barnwal case 2023, it is a statutory right. Personality rights, again, so many celebrities, right, has reserved their voice, image, personality, right? That's why personality rights, you must know about that. Property rights in India, you must be knowing, currently it is a constitutional right, not fundamental rights. Under Article 300A, it is a constitutional right. And then RTI 2005, why? 20 years of RTI. Certain sections are important. Then NGOs, also NGOs are important. So this was all about the important topics of Polity and Governance for Prelims 2026. I hope these expected topics may come in your upcoming Prelims 2026. Thank you.